Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
If you get in trouble.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with another Bar Rescue After Show. And I have to say, number one, this is my favorite episode of Bar Rescue ever.
Oh my goodness.
Ever.
Wow.
Amazing. Secondly, the title, in hindsight, should have been a dead giveaway. Second base, third strike.
Yeah.
I should have known going into it that we were leaving not happy campers.
I was surprised. I was surprised at the third. I mean, I was surprised at the ending. You know, that I should have picked it up myself.
Absolutely. And of course, we have Kevin Undergaro.
Thank you very much.
We have Ashley Daniels.
Hi.
And missing from action tonight, Dorinda Barker and Mia Mastriani. Dorinda couldn't be here. Mia's over at the Soho House doing what she does best. So we'll have them join us in the future weeks.
Favorite episode?
Favorite episode, absolutely.
Wow.
Because I don't know, maybe there's been that period of time, if you're watching kind of in real time, where you haven't had Bar Rescue, right, for a little bit. And so to come out with, I at first was like, wait, is this the new episode? What's going on? It's second base. I feel like I've seen this. What's going on? And then it goes on, and, as the narrator is explaining, we're back at it again. I was like,
yeah.
So I got on a sidetrack for a second. So I'm on a business call today for AfterBuzz, and we were going over some of the shows that we do, and I mentioned, I host Bar Rescue, and they said, yeah, we were looking at some of your shows, and immediately they said, geez, that Pirates episode was really amazing. I can't, blah, 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 blah,
221.
221. So, anyway,
Wasn't me.
I'm not saying that that's my favorite episode, the Pirates, but I don't know, because I have so many favorites, so I don't know what my favorite is. I just find it's interesting that I think this was an amazing episode. I think it was an unbelievable way to kick off the new set of shows. I just have never thought of my favorite episode. And I know that's probably a sidebar.
I haven't
But I love that I love that. Ashley, what comment on that?
It. Okay, so I love Tonight, and I've seen almost all of the episodes. I mean, first season, I'm still catching up on. But for every other season, I mean, for me, it was more about John fighting the urge to just leave and also stay true to his, what he really stands for, which is teaching people, and which is, these employees, showing them, what he thinks is the right way to work. And he kept fighting that battle, because I can't imagine for him how difficult that was. I know we're going to get into it, but that's why I like watching him make decisions and have those kind of more difficult decisions.
And he made a big decision.
So smart.
He made a big decision right off the bat, because as I was watching, I was like, "What are you doing, Johnny?" He was on the side of Terry, and he's like, "Come in, sit in the van with me. We'll do some recon."
He tried,
and. And Terry's like, see, he's just sitting there. And, for a minute, I thought, what's going on, Taffer?
Well, he was putting on a good show. He quit drinking. That's huge. I mean, think of that in life. So the fact that John got this guy to stop drinking showed that he had success, with him. And so from John's perspective, you could buy into, hey, he stopped drinking. He's over at his other bar, and the reason he's over at his other bar is because he's supposed to have this competent manager who is trained by John that's supposed to manage the bar. So I could see why he would go down that road.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's Gary. Gary is not as guilty as Terry by any stretch of matter, but he's not innocent either. There's no way, Phil, would you let AfterBuzz just be filled with dust and like that, no matter what? If I never came around, or Marie never came around here, would you ever let it be?
No,
right? Ashley, what about you? You
I would never. I clean a lot. I live in
and you're very passionate about what you do.
Yes.
And do you, if your owner didn't come into that bar and you were entrusted, would you leave it there? Now, granted, you might not have money to buy a new kegerator or whatever, but
No, of course. I wherever I work or whatever surrounding I'm in, I always like to keep it looking tidy and looking organized and being organized, because it's just a matter of, it makes everything else easier when you work.
But you also care.
Yeah, no,
right?
I care, but that's how your work is better when you are working
and so
in a
Gary
surrounding like that. He just didn't care.
Didn't do any of those things, so he's also guilty. It's just that as the episode unfolded, we got to find out that there was someone more guilty.
But in your scenario, it makes it much more easier to care when we've said this multiple times, when it starts from the top and goes to the bottom. So when you care, it trickles down. Then I care, then she cares, and then everybody else cares. But in the case of Gary, I'm not saying, he's not off the chopping block, but when you try and you put in an effort and you say, hey, can we get money to fix this, we need to fix this, and you're doing a good job, but it's not being recognized, which I don't think it was.
It wasn't.
And you're like, what?
But he also wasn't doing a good job.
But I mean, what a way to start the episodes. He's sitting in the car. John's sitting in the car with Terry in the beginning, so you just automatically point your finger at Gary to begin with. And like you guys said, Terry put on a good show, but really, John always gets the truth out of everybody. It's just a matter of time.
Just was a matter of time.
It's amazing.
And what I loved about the recon is they were going into it and they knew exactly, as soon as Sarah saw them, oh crap, I know I gotta make these things. I have no idea how to make anything that you want.
I think she knew. She was actually a lot smarter than the episode allowed her to be, because she wasn't completely trained in the old menu. But if she just had like 5 minutes to go over everything, I feel like she was competent enough to
decent.
do it.
Yeah, she seemed like she was decent.
Yeah, she just forgot everything, and she had so many other things to deal with.
I felt so bad for the women in general. Just, you know what I mean? Just so degraded in every level. They were not properly trained, and just again, I'll call them uniforms, but they're not.
It's just cleaning in those bikinis. I mean, just the amount of, I
would have been like, go just put on a shirt, like put on pants for the cleaning
chemicals
at least.
Burn.
Right, chemicals like in your areas.
Phil, should we take this, because we're getting ahead to the cleaning. I know, but
it ties in. So
hygiene. I don't know. Vice versa.
He was. It's just hard to knock the girls because of him, and the manager, him especially. I couldn't even get there. I liked Sarah, the lead bartender, and I have to say, like, Phil, because I always say, like, the older you get, the lower your standards go in life, and the more you appreciate things. But I'm like, I'd love to go have a beer there with all the bikini bartenders. That seems like it'd be a lot of fun.
And it would be fun for anybody. Yeah, I mean, if they were happier, if they were a little more.
And it would be, absolutely. But there's a right way to create that sort of environment and have fun with it. That no one was having fun there.
No. And then he was doing that old thing where he just kept bringing in more and more girls, and then bumping out other ones and taking away their shit. The other ones weren't being empowered to make money. Like a lot of employers do that too. They bring in other people, just to either make you feel nervous about your job or to, I don't know, hook up someone else. And
by the way, the whole argument about but the bigger you get, you don't necessarily know your employees and things. It's a load of crap. In the sense that if you are an employer, you should know every single one of your employees. I know,
if you're a manager, you mean?
Yeah,
right.
We'll talk Andrew Lee, who owns a huge clothing business.
Right.
He gives tours of his warehouse. He knows everybody's name.
Everybody's names. That guy is amazing.
I'm going to give you a counterpoint. When I interviewed John for a Spotlight on, and if you're a fan of Bar Rescue, you should check it out. If you're just a fan of business, I learned a lot when I interviewed him. It's up online. But I was saying, what do you do when you have a lot of money and it is your dream to open a bar, but you really don't know the business and you can't have time to be involved? He said, well, you get a really good manager, or you partner somebody in. So I still think it all went perfectly the way it needed to, but I still don't take Gary off the hook. I mean, the place, okay, for instance, I'm not a bar guy, but if I were running that place, Phil, if I were the manager, well, the place would have been clean. What I couldn't fix on my own, you just rob Peter to pay Paul. You find a way. You be resourceful. It's like producing a movie, right? I mean, how many times, Phil, from producing, you only have so much money in a budget, but at the end of the day, you have to deliver, right? That's why they call it producing. You have to produce. I just feel like Terry ended up looking so bad and being so bad that all the attention gets away from Gary. But at the same time,
well, I will say Gary, he that tantrum didn't help his cause, especially early on with Taffer.
but just look at the way the bar got. There's no need. It's funny. One of my friend's moms told me a long time ago, I don't care how poor you are, you can always afford soap and water. I'll never forget that. So whether it's cleaning yourself or cleaning your house, but you can. And so just imagine if that place had stayed immaculate and those bartenders were reminded by a manager, you have to know your drinks.
Right.
Phil, I'm sorry not to give away too much of what goes on over here, but I'm barely here. You run everything. Like you have orientations, you have, things you put down. The few times I'm here, which is now just to do bar rescue, the place is amazing. Everyone's happy and
I fist bump you on that.
yeah.
Nice.
But you know what? And
we have no beer in the fridge tonight, though.
But
Right,
that was a
it's
bummer.
alright.
But
We'll
listen.
find who did that.
But I say though, as much as that it's amazing you do that, I think that should be. I was taught that that's the norm. My parents helped people run. My dad ran many people's businesses. Maria's dad, my girlfriend's father. That's all he ever did was run people, and he was the guy you could trust. And so I can't take Gary off the hook in this. I think that, someone could have taught him, an owner could have taught him better, but if that's what an owner needs to do, if he came in under those auspices, is like, okay, I'm going to pay you less because you're an inexperienced manager and I'm going to teach you how to manage, then I have a problem. But if he came in hired as a manager, come on, look at you guys, the fruit flies and all of that stuff. I understand when a kegerator breaks and there's no money to fix that stuff. I get it, fine, but I still only get some of that because I'd find a way to fix that without the money.
I understand, but let me throw it back at you. In this, if you're Terry and you're seeing these things and you keep blaming Gary, why not fire him?
Right, but
I don't even think he was blaming him. So by the way, you're missing what I said. I don't take Terry off the. No, Terry needed to go, but I'm saying, okay.
But
I would hire Sarah as a bartender. I would never hire the kid as a manager unless I paid him at a smaller salary to say, listen, you don't know what you're doing. If you're willing to learn, fine. Then I'll work with you and then see where he goes. But at the same time, I just don't see where.
I guess here's a bigger question, right? Who do you hold accountable? Right, Taffer leaves that night, and as he says, I'm going to come in here and say. It should be clean.
Ultimately,
so who gets the blame there? Because Terry should have known, but also Gary.
Ultimately, Terry. What I'm saying is, though, but you cannot say, "Oh, it's all Terry," and Gary. Gary's a great guy. He's just a victim in this. No,
I'm not saying that.
Right, and it's also.
And by the way, all these. There you go. Now I'm going to digress.
No.
But when I see guys that are well groomed, and pumped up with muscles, you know what I say? Too much time in the mirror and too much time in the gym, and that time could be spent in that bar, making that bar what it is. I'm sorry. And that's an old school way of looking at things, but Brian Grazer, one of the things he taught me, not to name drop, but when he sits with directors that he wants to hire, he's looking at you head to toe. He's like, if you're so into your fashion and style and into yourself, he's like, then you're not going to be into the film. Right. And I'm looking for that, but anyway, that's
Lisa Marie made a good point, though. She said,
love Lisa Marie.
Yeah, love her. She said, when she picked up the thing, the really dirty, the sink part, the part with the drink. She said, if you clean this every day,
that's it.
You wouldn't have to do this. And it's like going back to what my mother always taught me was clean as you go. Clean every day.
Clean as you go. Love.
And she clean
Hear that, everybody? Clean as you go.
Well, so when you're cooking, at the end, everything's already cleaned because as you go, you clean. So it's the same theory,
Sorry, I love the guineas.
I know. She's
she's a
good kid.
No,
my mom's a good kid.
That's the way. Clean as you go.
Clean as you go. And so why not? Now you're left with this guck and this gross stuff, and then those girls in those bikinis, no one wants to touch that when their hair's down, they've got bikinis on.
That was so unfair.
That's like, give them some shirts.
Phil, should we take this beat by beat?
Yes, but before for some comedic value that sort of ties into the show, hopefully, the AfterBuzz farm system of staff members continues its excellence by we have Jonathan in the booth who comes from Chili's. And I must applaud Chili's for how they've kind of revamped their menus, their touchscreens, and everything else. I'm very impressed. So, Jonathan, thank you for being part of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jonathan, it's funny that it's the Encino Chili's.
Yeah.
Okay, just one of the most poorly run Chili's I've seen in the last 8 years. We'll talk off camera.
But I gotta say, they have upped it. At least like customers.
Have you been in there?
Yes, I have.
All right, good.
I'm
All right,
fooled.
that's good to hear.
I'm fooled.
No, I'm happy to hear it. By the way, do you have him watching Bar Rescue now?
We're gonna get him on that program.
Yeah, there's all his staff watches Bar Rescue. That's how you do things.
Lisa
You
know
guys
you're eating
learn business.
Chili's.
What's that?
Does Lisa know you're eating Chili's when you get those home cooked meals?
They go with us.
All right.
Well,
all right.
just
All
I like
right.
to get we let Lisa escape
all
once
right.
in a while.
Lisa
All
is
right.
Maria's mom, who cooks amazing food.
And every day
Anyway.
and night.
But yeah, so we've kind of gone all over the place. I mean, do you want to continue on the recon, or you just want to get into the second day?
Well, okay, so we start out. John has his comedian friend come, which I thought was nice. It seemed like he's probably throwing her a bone.
Sarah.
Typical
But she
John.
was also, she knew bartending.
I think she was also just so horrified. She was silent. You could see
we didn't
just
hear
her
much of her.
faces, right?
Yeah.
And Lisa Marie, to me, the top two on this show are Mia and Lisa Marie. As far as the, well, I shouldn't say, for the females.
Mm-hmm.
They're my top two that I love. I love the two of them. By the way, are they the only two females that John uses?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that
Putting me on the
Well,
spot.
anyway,
We'll have to find that
even
out.
separately,
Let's
they're
not answer that till
both
we know.
of those kids are just great talents, just fun. They're just good stuff.
She
So
had
I,
her own.
The answer is
She
no,
has her
because the Pirates Bar had
that's
a
right.
female,
Yeah,
but she's a
first season.
hospitality
we used to
person.
see her a lot. That's right.
And forgive me because I don't remember her name off the top
Okay,
of my
but
head.
anyway, I was so excited to see Lisa Marie.
Yeah.
The Lisa Marie Vic Vegas that to me is.
And I give her so
good.
much
They're a
credit.
different team that John uses, but I like when they come in, mix it up.
I give her so much credit how she handled the situation of I'm here cleaning your bar, and she was so disrespected.
2 words for your friend:
Slime
What's
ball.
that?
Slime ball.
dry drunk.
Got it.
You know what a dry drunk is, people?
I think.
By the way, and I don't.
Angry, it's an angry
No. Listen, I
drunk.
don't know this, so please, this is
The guy
just
that
my
sounds like
opinion. So just from watching the show and whatever, like I'm watching 44 minutes of this. Like you guys at home, so I don't know that. It's an alcoholic that has stopped drinking, but has not gone through the proper therapy and the proper channels and the proper steps. So what you have is somebody that that isn't drinking, isn't drunk, but is still showing the shortcomings and dysfunctions of an alcoholic. So when you see the narcissism like that, to say to a bunch of girls in bikinis, yeah, that's right, get bleach. By the way, grill cleaner, you guys, is like acid. The stuff that you have to use to cut the grease and it's like I know from the carny days, it's like acid. It will burn your skin. And the fact that he's just like, yeah, you guys just do it, and doesn't even know who they are, probably doesn't even pay them. They're just working on tips, and doesn't get involved in it whatsoever. To me, that's just grade A narcissism, but that's also in line with a dry drunk. So I was violent when I saw that. Like I was like, wow. And then when he disrespected Lisa Marie, I was like, oh my goodness. And I was so surprised. They kept coming back for more. And so, it was brilliant on John's part, and it was brilliant on the show's part, on the producer's part, because as it unfolded, I was like, okay, Bar Rescue probably has so much money maybe invested in this episode that they don't want to pull the plug. They've put a lot of money in there, and they don't want to pull the plug on this, because I'm like, at what point, when he disrespected Lisa Marie, at what point do you say, all right, we're out of here? Like the guy just wouldn't stop, and they kept going, and I was like, what? I was like, okay, maybe they have to, hang in here to get an episode, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of money that's being put on the line for this to shoot this,
And part of it for me, I was watching Terry, and it was almost who's going to give in, because I feel like Terry had, just looking at his face, and this is totally my opinion. You guys can hopefully feel free to disagree, but he just kept looking like, all right, yeah, keep talking. I just got to put up with this crap for 4 more days, and then I'm home free.
Yeah, that's it. That's
100%.
totally what he was doing.
Totally nailed it. You totally nailed it. And I was so surprised, because there was a point where John started to really, really see Terry's motives, and forever I just kept hoping that John would just walk out and not come back so that we could get some sort of a reaction from Terry, because it was like he was like, okay, I'll just let him yell at me, whatever I have to do to get my money for my bar. And it was like I just wanted to hear him like admit that there's more to this reason that he called John back, because he doesn't want anything to do with John, but yet he wants John there.
He had the perfect answer of like, well, of course, everybody would want 400% sales up.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah. He was like the little kid that snaps back at his parents all the time.
He was precious. By the way, a dry drunk, because when you drink, you stunt your growth.
Yeah.
You know, and you stunt your maturity level, and all that stuff probably hasn't been worked out. But I love that. I love that John figured out the way to pin him down, because most of these people, I'm starting to find that, because my fear has always been the show is so big that we're going to have more and more bar owners say to themselves, hey, you know what? I'll get yelled at for 4 days. I'll get $500,000 worth of consultation and renovations. Wink, wink. And then they're back to being assholes on Monday, bad mouthing the show online or whatever. And I was grateful that his mask fell off. Oh no, I was grateful that John found a way to make it. John's such a good businessman. He found a way to make him accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, rather than just walk out, he said, okay, I know what you're going to do. I know what you're up to. So now here, you're going to invest with me.
And that's how good John is. John saw a little glimpse at one point of Terry trying a little bit, and it was enough to get him back in the room the next day to start again and see what he could get from Terry. And then he realized at that point, it was like, there's just no going back. And that was just the brilliant part of John is, let's see how much this guy really does want to fix this bar. Let's show him all the things we're going to do and then ask him for a little bit of money, which we'll get into. But just, it was a great way to show this guy, let this guy look in the mirror and say to himself, okay, I guess I don't want it that badly, because if I did, I would invest a little bit of my own money.
I'm just here for TV time, and you guys do all the work for me, and I'm going back to my other bikini
looks like a
bar.
coward. That whole episode made him look like an idiot. He's just done.
Yeah. Well, he's one of these short-sighted bottom line kind of guys who's just, we see that every week, where they just run these businesses. They don't care. Just run it into the ground, grab the money, and then when it just decays, they walk away.
Well, I really wish we got to see the other bar, and got at the very least kind of through narration, whatever. And I know probably Terry was never going to have that happen, but that to me was the most.
I'm glad we didn't.
Really?
You know why, Phil? I didn't want him getting any more promotion than he already got. So I didn't want that other bar. I already wanted to go to this bar because John did such a good job on it. And it's in Orange, so it's like it's gettable. Like, we can get down there. And no, I would have wanted to go to his other bar.
It just goes to show you that he didn't even care. The fact that those menus were just in the back with dust all over them, he just tossed them away. Okay, we got our money. I got my money. We're done. I'm not going to keep implementing all of this. This is just too difficult for us. I don't know how it could be too difficult for them, but for anybody who doesn't care, it's difficult to care, I guess. So it was just
one of the girls was calling him out. The blonde, she had the kind of raspy voice, and she was basically saying, it's $30,000. And you make money at your other bar. It doesn't seem that, she was taking him to task a little bit, which I thought was cool. And their relationship made me think there was a little bit more involved with those two, by the way, just in that one moment. Yeah, because the fact that she would be that forward with him. Sarah wasn't like that with him, and she knew him a lot longer.
She
just was smacking him around. But if you go to that quick blip, it was more of an intimate conversation. I was like, come on, dude, you have money. Like, just, I don't know. Anyway, what does it matter?
Yeah, and, at first I didn't quite understand because of the way it was shot. I thought they were kind of confessionals at first, and then they kind of revealed that they were, the two of them were in a room. So, and then it made more sense of how the conversation was going. All
right, can we go over, Phil? By the way, I love Chef Nick, so I was glad. We didn't get to see him. I'm a big Chef Nick fan, but I want to go over again so many things that we learned from this episode. Like every week, this show is the best education. 4 different finishes means that people will spend more,
20 to 30%
more, just for so. And this is good for us. We're Phil and I are going to be building something in the future, and that's good for us to know, Phil.
Yeah.
That this that did any of you know that? If we go with a wood, he said a wood, a material, a tile. It was. I never knew that.
I never knew it either. You know, and I like that he also used it against Terry as a teaching method. Of course, he didn't know that.
The best. That was
hilarious.
I couldn't even.
You couldn't
write.
You couldn't have scripted that any better.
Yeah.
So, I was just sticking it to him like, you didn't know. No, you didn't.
You didn't know that.
You didn't know it.
Because I think, you know, I mean, obviously the difference would be if John was telling us these things, obviously he wouldn't have that resentment for it. You know, he'd be teaching us rather than throwing it against us.
Okay.
The POM, that to me was...
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, so property...
Operation
maintenance. 5% of that. So he would have... I cannot believe that people that own businesses don't have this knowledge already, so that they can have this money for a rainy day. To
be fair, I don't think you know, I've never had that knowledge, but I would say we've had the gut instinct, right? I mean, all we've ever done is try to progress. Our POM is probably a little bit higher than 5%.
It's a lot higher, but
you know, I you know, it's part of it's just an instinct. Like, don't you want to help and grow your business?
But it's really smart to know that 5%. It's great. So when you're doing a budget, whether it's a bar or any other business, I never thought of that POM.
Yeah.
Probably 5% of your budget should go toward renovations and upkeep. It's kind of cool.
Just makes you think though. This was 2012. Okay, that's 3 years ago. This place has gone from a beautifully renovated bar to having this filth underneath the floor, this build up, the plumbing. It looks like, he said it looked worse than the first time he went.
I'm surprised it took that long, because trust me, it could go faster.
It's like they never touched it since John left.
How many times have you seen business, and I have, where the light on the sign's not on? I've seen it so many times, and every time I see it, I said, that's some worker there who just doesn't give a crap. That's like, meh, why bother? Haven't you guys seen that before?
Oh yeah, of course.
And every time, and the fact that they didn't even have the sign light on.
And he's kind of coming. Like, you've seen the show. You've been a part of the show. Like, what are you doing?
Anyway, like I said, that's why I would think a manager would know to turn the light on. And by the way, unless the lights were out, but I don't think they were, because we saw them on later.
Yeah.
I just hope that in the end, John said it without saying it, but he was basically implying to these employees, you guys have a lot of potential. You can go on and do other things. You don't need to be, they needed a little pep talk. We all need that at some time in our life, especially from a higher up or somebody that we look up to. And being in the bar business, to have John say he believes in you. I mean,
let's go back to
crazy.
The $30,000. So why wouldn't you write the check for the $30,000?
He was playing on his phone pretending. He didn't want it.
He wasn't. Like,
who was he calling? His banker?
He wasn't putting up any money. No. Do you think he didn't even consider it, right?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
I think he said what he needed to say.
It's a good way to stall. Go like this.
And by the way, let's talk about John's proposed recon.
Well, even real fast, because even if he didn't, let's say, have the $30,000,
you find a way, Phil.
You find it. That's what I'm saying. You find a way. Like, hey, can I take out? Do you mind if I take out a loan? Like, I'll figure out a way to get the money. I want to do this. I'll get the money. Give me a chance.
He could have brought his bank statements and said, "Listen, I can do $8,000. Look at this is John would have went for it. Like, this is all I have, but I will give. Can we make it a loan in over 2 years?
That's what I'm saying.
There's and there was none of that. And
did you see, though, before you say that, did you see how when he did say to Terry, here's my budget, before he even asked for the money, Terry shut up. He was the most quiet he had been the whole time. He smiled.
He was licking his chops.
He was like, I'm getting the steak. He was just, when he busted that balloon, when John just, boop, it was like he just deflated. It was unbelievable seeing him, just how respectful he was for the first time. He was listening and looking and engaged in conversation.
It's like, well, I love this show and I love John. As I'm watching, I'm saying to myself, well, geez, we already renovated the place once. How do you renovate it again? How do you bring it to another level, right? But that's how my civilian brain thinks. John finds a way to bring it to another level. When he starts laying out the plans, I'm like, oh my God, a lit up dance floor. What were some of the other things, Phil, that he came up with?
Moving the entrance, like everything was getting redone, repainting everything. But
second coat of paint.
The name had to stay the same.
Yeah.
Change it
and by the way,
times.
it's another thing you learn. You never want to change it three
Not
times.
3 times.
So it's great to learn that. And
but
the beer
paint
system
is important, which is very interesting.
Well, those textures, he said, that's when he talked about the 4 finishes. But then he was bringing the draft beer system.
Yeah, the third. I think it's 30 draft system.
Oh my God, for 30,000. I don't know. He must. Maybe the guy just planned on shutting the place down. I don't know. Maybe he's a cheapskate. I'm just at a little bit of a loss, but.
And here's the thing. We've seen it too many times.
Yeah, I guess so. Right.
It's the short win. It's a quick buck, but it doesn't last long.
Play the short game.
You know, how long did the success of the first bar rescue last? I mean, I thought that was a great description. No, you weren't successful. You were in the honeymoon phase, and when that ended, this all went away.
Right.
So I thought that was a very good description of it.
Yeah, it was perfect.
80% of those bars continue to be successful. It just goes to show you that it does take, you have to change your whole way of 4 days does not change everything. You have to commit, you have to learn, you have to write everything down and just keep studying it like it's a test. You know, you'd have to keep on telling yourself, because you're stuck in your old ways. You can't change overnight.
But even,
it's a lot of effort.
Seeing kind of how, we've had a lot of the experts on, right? Mia, who's been here the most because she's sort of an official co-host of ours, but you always kind of know the people that keep in touch with our experts, they'll do okay. Only for the simple reason that they are trying to continue being good at this. If they make no effort, it's all going away. And I was telling somebody, somebody said, and I'm not trying to gloat here, but they said, you always have a solution, Phil. And I said, no, I don't, but I've trained myself to always try to think of something. It may not be great, but just that habit of trying got me there, and so you should too.
Who's the guy in the booth?
Jonathan.
Okay, so you see, I'm just as bad as Terry. I don't know my employees. So
he's the first day on the job.
So Jonathan, just so you know, so Phil's always looking for solutions, but Stephen Lemieux, who also works here, tell him about Stephen.
Dude,
Stephen's knee jerk is to tell you how something can't be done. So now you have to pick, Jonathan. Do you want to be like Stephen or do you want to be like Phil?
Glass half full.
I'm a solution finder for
Love
sure.
Love that.
He is. Yeah, that's
Keep
that's
away
one
from
of the reasons.
Stephen. By the way, it's okay. Maria, same thing.
Well.
We all have our own
real
way.
can't do kind of gal.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
She does a lot though. We have to.
I think she's a can do.
No,
kind
she
of
is
gal.
can do. She is can do. But I
I'm
use
not biased.
I use reverse psychology to try to get her to be even more can do. But anyway, yeah, you have to be. I think with anything in life, the more solution based you are, the more successful you'll be.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just getting in that habit. It really is. And trying.
I am so I can't imagine how grateful for those employees, first of all, to agree with John. They were they felt so embarrassed. All of them. You always feel whatever, your company, the company you work for. If somebody messes up at AfterBuzz, it's all of us will feel a little bit okay, well, responsible for something because we all care about our business. And I just felt at that point at the end, which you haven't gotten to yet, but I have to say, I could not believe how embarrassed those girls were. It was just sad. They were trying to let John know, we understand, we thought you'd leave earlier, but it was just it was a really sad moment. There was nothing he could do from there, but
part of it for them, I think, is a self-realization that they're better than this, because I've been, unfortunately, in those situations where, the company may not necessarily care or whatever, certainly not this one, and you're trying to do your job, but you have no means of doing it. And because you're the face, right? If you're that bartender, if that drink's not coming out, well then, in that one-on-one situation with the customer, you're at fault. And it's well, yeah, here's a guy who's wherever he can be and he doesn't care, but I'm having to deal with all this crap on a daily basis. And it affects you negatively.
Yep.
And you feel like you're not better.
Right.
So Phil, your favorite episode? Ashley, what about you? What is your favorite episode?
What is my favorite episode?
Or one of your favorites? Because it's hard to say favorite.
That is a really
this
hard
one broke down the fourth wall a lot too, though. That's part of the reason why I like it, because he said, I could be at any bar in America would love to have me right now, but I'm here.
I have to think about that.
Okay.
I have to think about that. I don't want to say the wrong one because I'm going to go, oh, I wanted that one. I'll come back to you on that one.
I mean, think
what about you? You don't have a favorite?
I don't. I have so many. I'm like Shallow every week. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Every new one I see.
Yeah.
I love it when there's a lot of I just love watching a lot of John talking to anybody who thinks that they're smarter than John. So anytime that someone, because he just busts their balloons. I don't think so, buddy. So anytime. So tonight I like
when they do show their true colors. What I do get nervous is that everyone knows the show now, and they all know I'll be good for 4 days and get what I want. And that's not good TV.
They'll never get away with it. He is so intuitive. He can look at somebody within 2 seconds and sum them up and know exactly what they're about.
But they also,
they do wear
and this episode will scare a lot of them away too, I'm sure.
Well, no, I mean, they get worn down by the process. To go 4 days in a row, it's almost like a torture chamber.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually the truth comes out. But it's hard. I always get nervous that they're going to fool us, but it was great. I'm so glad this guy showed us who he was.
But I feel like the success of the show has to continue in that direction. Shark Tank, different network, I understand, but one of the reasons why I like it is because a lot of the people now get called out of like, you don't want a deal. You just want to be here so you get promotion, get out.
Oh, they do that now?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, no, Cuban does it. Cuban calls everyone out, and he even has like a little bit of a tendency to get neurotic about it, where he will assume right at the very beginning, you're here for advertising. You don't need any money. What are you here for? Like right at the very beginning.
See, I haven't watched this season because.
You gotta watch it.
Yeah, I know. I think Maria, because she probably lives in a Shark Tank, she doesn't want to. My girlfriend doesn't want to watch it. We've been watching more scripted.
You would
stuff.
love it. You'll learn because you're so business savvy. You're going to sit there and you're going to rewind it 50 times.
Not really.
That's how Rich is.
Savvy.
Yeah, you are.
No,
it
really.
teaches you business. And most people, I guarantee most Americans, the only reason why they can be sort of good at business because Shark Tank taught me.
Yeah, I learned so much.
But Bar Rescue taught me as well.
That's it. Bar Rescue teaches us all.
But John can do it all. He doesn't need another 3 or 4 people there to,
Well, think about and that's the thing. It's going back to that statement of that. Any bar in America would want him. This guy is the most demanded person in the bar industry.
Let me add this too. It's the Shark Tank guys are great, and you learn a ton from them. But it's almost like a lot of politicians too that I see. It's one thing to sit there and critique. It's easy to do what we're doing, right? Any 3 morons like us can sit here and criticize Bar Rescue. We can criticize people on the show. So for the Shark Tank guys, their critiques are very intelligent. They're very poignant. They're very insightful. Give them that. I feel like John could sit there and probably do the same thing.
Absolutely.
The difference is, could those guys go into a business in 4 days, be deprived of sleep, be out in the middle of nowhere, away from their loved ones, and do everything he does, which is create a new brand, figure out the structure of the business and the buildings, deal with absolute morons, half of which or more have addiction problems because it's a bar. I mean, it's a nightmare. So I don't know if the Shark Tank, I'd like to see it.
I don't think. I'll tell you, Kevin O'Leary would not sign up right
I
off the
don't
bat.
think so. That's a big no.
But that's why I think
I can see Laurie doing it.
But that's why I think like John, Mayor Giuliani, there are people that can be proactive and get in and kick out. It's just such a rare person, and that's why I celebrate John and I celebrate this show so much. And I think we're all so lucky to be able to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing I do want to for Shark Tank's argument. They're critiquing, but it's also their money on the line.
Yes. Well, it's his money on the line too, though.
It's John's reputation because every time he walks out of that bar, and every belligerent mofo who decides on Monday to go online and say, this is baloney and that's baloney and that's John's brand.
Yeah. And I wasn't doing that as a knock on Bar Rescue. I just meant as a defending of Shark Tank.
Yeah, they're stuck with that
but there's no
that
need
business
to
forever.
There's no need to defend them. What they do very well. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is John could do that, but what
these
makes
guys
John,
can't do it. Yeah.
I don't think so. What makes John is the fact that he can also go in and create the solutions, not just
by himself.
It's funny. There's even certain politicians, and as the election comes up, if you guys start getting into politics, start listening to the ones who have solutions, because most of them will tell you, Obama did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. Bush did this wrong. This is what's wrong. Okay, great. Tell me what you're going to do to fix it, and you'll see that's the difference. There's some people that will have the solutions. And then there's others that have the dumb solutions, and there's others who never really give you a solution, but they'll tell you in a very intelligent way everything that's wrong. So it's different when you have someone that can say what the solution is, but then also act on it, improve it. And that's a very special person. And that's why I think this show doesn't exist without John. And that's why I think all the derivative shows in the restaurant and bar space, You ever notice they're kind of entertaining, but they're just always they're always
I don't
missing.
even know any.
I watch them all. They're all missing something, and the
startup
and the renovations. I swear to God, like Maria and I laugh. We'll watch them. It's like, oh, and here's your new bar, and it's like they paint one wall and hang a painting.
It's budget, but also it's it just shows you the amount of time that Topper puts into it.
But Ashley, this is Spike.
Yeah.
This is not NBC.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
it's not budget. It's John. Because John's the one
actually, I can name
John,
something. I'm not going to.
But it's John who's calling up and saying, give me this for free. Give me that for free. Yeah. I need this. I need that. That's 30 years of being truly in the bar business rather than, somebody who can tell you all the things wrong or advise you of what you should do in a restaurant bar, but is not the real deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm done.
All right.
Never done.
Anything else
never
about
done.
this episode that you guys
No,
you guys want to quickly touch
we
on?
beat it down. I mean, I don't know.
have.
Anymore, we're gonna get any more libel.
I agree with you. I wanted to see Chef Nick a little bit.
Oh, we'll see.
I saw him peel the paper off the food, but it's about it.
I'm not worried. We'll be seeing a lot more. Chef Nick, shout out to Lisa Marie. I love it. I'd love to see her and Mia. I think they'd be great together.
The only reason it wouldn't work,
well.
they wouldn't do it because they're two mixologists.
Bill,
but
don't say never on this show. They continue to break the formula all the time, so you never know.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us for another Bar Rescue After Show. We'll certainly be back next Monday discussing the new episode. And in the meantime, feel free to comment, rate, and all that good stuff. If you haven't already done so, please do subscribe. What are you doing with your life?
iTunes, right? Go to iTunes to subscribe and rate on the show. Give us your comments. Same with YouTube. If we don't read them, Ashley will.
Ashley's the designated.
Don't worry, I'll read them.
And
I'll write back.
Dorinda actually really loves reading them.
She tells me a lot of times. She's like this and this. I'm like, I gotta go look at it.
So you guys know Dorinda has a bubbly person. It really makes her day seeing these comments. For more interaction, at Undergaro.
Yeah.
On Twitter and
Instagram.
At Ashley Daniels.
And what's your Instagram? Because it's different.
It's Miss Ashley Daniels because someone has my name already.
See, that's so confusing for me.
Should have taken my mom's name.
All right, and follow us here at AfterBuzz TV, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. We'll see you here next time. Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.